Hi, today we're going to talk about banking in Brazil, cash and cards for foreigners, what actually works in 2026. Now, I deal with a lot of internationals in Brazil. Sometimes that's with big purchases such as property or even day-to-day stuff as well. And a lot of frustration can arise when someone comes with an expectation that things here are going to work like they do back home. For example, thinking you can just bring cashier checks to Brazil and that will be fine. That's not the case. Some things in Brazil work very well. Some things work not so well. So I'm going to give you some tips to help you navigate dealing with money and bringing money into Brazil. My name is James Rox. I'm the director of Rox Investments, and we help international clients with their finances, bringing money into Brazil through proper channels to invest here. So let's deal first with cards and payments. Your debit card and your bank card will work in most shops here in Brazil. What I'd recommend is that you use some kind of travel card specifically. Maybe you have a credit card that's a travel card or a debit card. You could use a cloud bank service such as Wise, Revolut. These are widely accepted in Brazil. Often in Brazil, when paying on a credit or debit card, you will be offered a conversion rate in your home currency. It will give you a choice. Press green for US dollars or press red for Brazilian reais. Here's a tip. Never ever select your own currency. Always pay in the local currency because you are given a much more favorable rate. When also you have a designated travel card as well, transaction fees are normally waived. So always opt for that if you're choosing to use credit and debit cards when in Brazil. Most places will take them. When it comes to taking cash out, that can be difficult in Brazil. In theory, most banks should work. In practice, they don't. My experience has always been, and the experience of many others, is Bradesco, largest private bank in Brazil, is your best choice. I've never had issues with Bradesco when using a debit or a credit card. Yet again, your rate is more favorable when you have a specific travel card. Okay, again, select the local currency, Brazilian reais, BRL. Do not choose to take money out in your own currency because you would be given a less favorable exchange rate. There are other banks as well, such as there's a bank called 24 Horas, 24 Horas. These are cash machines. They're in supermarkets, they're in shopping centers. Normally there's a fee. If I'm not mistaken, currently it's around 25 reais per transaction. So it's around $5 per transaction. So I try to avoid that and mark out if I need to get cash out on a foreign card, look for a Bradesco and do it there. In terms of how much cash you can withdraw, that's going to depend on your card limit for foreign withdrawals. A single withdrawal, you may not hit your foreign limit. So let's say you have a UK credit card. I used to have one called a Clarity card from Halifax in the UK. It would permit me to take out maybe £3,000 sterling a day. So even though the maximum I could take out from the machine was less than that, I could repeat that transaction until I hit my UK limit. So always check your limit if you need a large amount of cash. I've already mentioned these, but two good services to have are certainly Wise and Revolut. Wise will give you multi-currency accounts. Now, you can only get a Brazilian reais account once you have a CPF number. Okay, we talked about that in a previous episode. If you have opened up a Wise, let's say you're from France, you've opened up a Wise in France, you'll probably have to get in touch with Wise to inform them that you have a CPF number and that you would like a Brazilian bank account so that you can hold reais in that account. So as I said, the card is wisely accepted. You can pay for many things, withdraw cash on it. And once you have a Brazilian reais account linked to your Wise as well, you can even do Pix, which is the Brazilian instant payment thing, which is accepted as a payment method in all shops you will go to. Revolut as well is here in Brazil. Your Revolut card will work. I believe to get reais, you would need to open up a specifically Brazilian Revolut, or if you don't have a Revolut, you can open it up as though you're opening a Brazilian account. So everything's kind of done through having a CPF and reais account for that. There are limits with how much money you can bring into Brazilian reais. Once you start going over $10,000, either as a one-off transaction or even accumulated transactions, it could mean that money gets held, or payments or transfers get held until you produce your tax returns for your country of residence. To check, Brazil's quite hot on money laundering, so you can hit some roadblocks. So for big purchases, some of these cloud services are not going to be ideal. Now, in theory, with Wise, you can send up to a person 250,000 reais at a time, so around $50,000. More than likely, that when you do a transaction of that size, it will be held until you provide more information on the origin of that money, why you're bringing that into Brazil. That's not necessarily a Wise thing, that's a Brazilian central bank requirement, and that's going to happen with any kind of cloud transfer services. So if you're looking to do a large amount of money in Brazil, maybe for the purchase of a vehicle, a property, what you really want to do is look for a transfer bank and set up that transfer where you'll do all the bureaucracy, provide proof of where that's come from, why that's coming into Brazil, ahead of sending the money out of your overseas bank account. And that brings me on to the next section, bank accounts in Brazil. It would be wrong to think that if you come to Brazil, that you could simply open up a bank account at Santander here in Brazil, or Bradesco, or Banco do Brasil. To open up a standard bank account, what you need is a CPF number, you need a visa, and your Brazilian identity card known as a RNM. That looks something like that, okay? Once you have those, you can open up a standard bank account and access those financial products here in Brazil. And you'll be more successful in acquiring those as you build up a track record here. Now, if you are not a resident in Brazil, you can open up what is called a non-resident bank account. There are two banks that I know of that offer this. One is BTG, okay, and the other is Banco do Rendimento. And a non-residence account, to all intents and purposes, functions much like a normal online bank account in Brazil, where you can make transfers, domestic transfers, you can pay bills and pay what we call boletos here, which is like a barcode system for paying bills, and you can do Pixes, which is like the instant transfer service here in Brazil, and you can receive money into that account. If you have an investment here, let's say you have a property, you're renting it out, you can receive the rent into that account. So a non-residence account will allow you to hold reais. It's regulated by the Brazilian Central Bank. You do not need to come to Brazil to open one, but you do need a CPF number. So once you have a CPF number, we're able to help you open that account, obviously using your foreign passport, having a bit about your financial history, tax returns, those kind of things. So a non-residence account is fantastic if you have investments in Brazil, but you have yet to acquire a residency yourself. Once you do get to the point where you have a residency and you get your RNM card, your Brazilian ID card, you can open up, if you choose to be resident in Brazil, you can open up a standard bank account, and then your non-residence account, you would need to close that. So to summarize this, you can use your cards in Brazil. You can withdraw cash in Brazil. I recommend doing that at Bradesco, and I recommend using specific traveler cards and services such as Wise and Revolut. And of course, things like Apple Pay work in Brazil as well. But you would be limited to how much you can withdraw, and even in some cases, how much you could spend as well. For larger amounts in Brazil, particularly property investment, you would look for a designated transfer bank. In some cases, that can be done, a transfer through, let's say, for example, Banco de Rendimento, who offer non-residence accounts. You can transfer for a SWIFT from, let's say, your bank account in Germany, in the UK, in Canada. You can do a SWIFT transfer to yourself here in Brazil, and that will go through all the proper channels through central bank, through the particular transfer service, into your account, which it will then be at your disposal to pay out, or even some transfer services as well. You will do a SWIFT to them, and then they will hold the money to you. And as you give them instructions, pay the seller of the house, pay the BYD dealership, they'll release that money accordingly. If you would like some help with opening a non-residence bank account, we can assist you in that. If you would like help with larger transfers, so I would say anything over $10,000, you should look to use an actual transfer service rather than a cloud transfer service. So if you need help with any of that, we assist many clients with that. Feel free to reach out.